Welcome to another Terranscapes Rapid Fire Critique. Just before I start, I almost forgot what I was going to say. I'm reverting back to my old setup. I don't know. That camera is terrible. I didn't like the way it looked, the sound, and the recording software is dropping frames. So as the video progressed, the voice got out of sync with the image, so I had to do a little scooching to try to get... Anyway. Screw all that. Although I make it sound like, oh, this is so easy. I've already shot this twice. Hit the button, Mike. All you have to do is hit the button that says record. Oh, don't forget, and put in a card that's higher than a 2 gigabyte capacity. Right. So, we're all set up now. So let's start. All right. So we're going to take a look at City on a Hill terrain, and he submitted this, and he has the good fortune of having me actually having to reshoot because I've never done this before. So maybe I'll be a little bit more detailed. Couple quick caveats about the piece, which he mentioned, is that it is 2-inch foam sandwiched between two sheets of MDF, and the reason that he did that was so that part of this cavern, there's a cavern underneath the hill, so that this could be removed to reveal the cavern underneath for play, which is an interesting idea. So with that said, let's take a look at the photos. And they're no larger than this because these were all the photos that he had because he sold the piece. So, of course, it'd be nice if they were bigger for future submissions, but I understand the situation that he's working in. One of the nice things is that then it causes us to just focus on... Start the clock. It causes us to just focus on it as a big picture, which has its own merits. I definitely think so. So, taking a look at it, one of the things that I noticed, which is really not exactly what he's looking for information on, but I was just curious about these tents. I like these tents. They look really nice. Of course, from a distance, from table playing perspective, and I was thinking maybe he made them, but now looking at it, the folds all look the same, so I think maybe these are purchased tents, but nevertheless, a nice addition to the table. So, one of the things I wanted to mention is a very nice soil color choice. A lot of times I think when I do deserts, I tend to push it a little too dry, a little too pale. This has got a little earthiness in it, but isn't too vibrant, which I think works with this overall motif that he's got going on here. I was just wondering, though, about the patches of grass, if I might go with a slightly different shade. A hard call, because you get some fluctuation depending on the season. I might go with something a little bit more dead, a little burnt, like something with a little bit more golds and maybe some light tans in it, something like that, even a mix. But in any case, that's just a thought on the overall colors. We get another view of the board from the opposite side with a very jubilant onlooker, a fan of the board, no doubt. This is a 2x2 board for reference. And here we get a shot of the river, and he mentioned in his note about this that he was sad that the MDF layer showed when he carved the river. I used to have stark transitions on my rivers as well, so it's not the end of the world. But in the future, you could just take a little spackling paste, like drywall lightweight spackle. That's what I'm thinking of. And then you could just, run a little bit over the lip with your finger, and it would smooth that right out and be really easy to do. The other thing I wanted to talk about with the river is the color choice of the water. It's a little green, and I think it depends on what you're going for. And I think the problem with the green here is that it's transparent. And usually if it goes really green for water, it's got a high algae content, and it's going to be rather opaque. So if you wanted to push it really green, then I would make it more murky. But I tend to think that you're probably going to be better suited by adding quite a bit more brown to it. The water tends to be carrying more silt than algae. Depends on the waterway, and depends how fast it's flowing. Yada yada. There's plenty of variations, but I tend to like it a little more silty. I think it's playing it on the safe side color-wise. if you do that and you go murky enough you can't see the bottom, then you're good to go. If you're going to be able to see the bottom, I would probably go with a finer grained sand on the bottom so it looks a little more silt-like. It doesn't mean there can't be cobblestone under there. It doesn't. There's all sorts of options, but it looks more like you've just carried the texture of the board into the river, which is not necessarily natural, because either this is going to be, heavily cobbled, lots of stones being turned, or maybe it's very, very silty. And so you kind of want it to stand out against the rest of the surface to make it, a little more believable. Although saying that, you don't really have many rocks up here, so, those are a couple quick thoughts on it. It's really, right? It's all about personal taste and interpretation. I almost forgot to mention, love these reeds. I love them. My only complaint is, why don't you have more of them? We look at this whole river. Look you got this beautiful clump here. You've got these nice clumps here with this little rock. You add more. Add more. You can't have too many reeds. A couple more, and a couple more here, and a couple right around this, and a couple over here, make it a little, give some thickened areas. They're so nice. They add so much to the riverway. Don't be afraid to put in more, because they look great. They add a lot. Can you believe it? I'm going to run out of time, even though this is the second time. Love the carving of the rocks. I think it fits really, really well with this overall motif, sandstone. If I had any improvement to make, it might be changing the thickness of the layers and including more thin layers. I think it's going to make it look more naturally deposited. Yeah, I gotcha. Some very thin layers, like thin, then thick, then medium, then thin, then medium, like that. Shake it up, and because each year the soils were deposited at different levels, and then they got compressed into sandstone, so you're going to have some variation in those layers. And just before we leave, I just wanted to talk about the cavern. So this is the hill removed. You can see here the seam where the MDF plate sits to hold the top of the mountain over it. Great idea. I love this. I think this is a really, really cool idea. I like your little, support timbers around here, and you got these barrels, and you've got, it looks like it's ready for mine work or something like that. The only problem with it is the color of the tops of these pieces. This black is a very, very strong color to put into this visual field. It's very hard to not just look at this spot because it's so dominating. And I kind of get the idea, right? You want it to feel like it's cut off, like you're looking into the, a dark underground. But I think you might be better served by picking something like one of these sort of medium tans you've got here in the rock and using that as a flat coat. If you don't want to texture it and make it look like, the rest of the rocks, that's fine. Probably better, but you want to knock down this color and make it feel like it blends into the rest of the area, and that will make a huge, huge contribution for this piece, because it's so nice, and it's so heavy with that visual element right there, and this one's pulling my eye pretty hard too. So something to think about for a future project. So I hope you found that helpful, at least interesting, and I think I got it. I didn't have my monitor facing me, so I didn't even notice. It's a lighting issue, this whole thing. Anyway, got it this time, I think. So, thank you for joining me and working through all of my technical glitches with me, even though you're not here and you didn't hear me swear, but you were here in spirit, and that's what matters. Down below here is the contact info on how you can get to me, submit a Q&A, question for the Q&A, submit a rapid fire critique, check out my monthly columns on Patreon. You don't have to be a patron. Just check them out. I spend hours writing them, and it would just be nice to know somebody got something from them. If you read them and you don't like them, even if you're not a patron, put a little comment there. I love to get some feedback on them. I feel like sometimes I'm writing them into this black abyss, and it'd be wonderful to hear something about them so that I can improve, because, I'm not writing them for me. Well, I kind of am, but I want them to be useful for you as well. So, questions and comments down below. Don't know if I said that. I'm behind on comments. I will keep saying that for a while longer, but it's going to rain over the next 3 days. So hopefully I will be able to sit down for a couple hours and really crank through some of them. And I do appreciate them, so please feel free to leave more. And hopefully, with all that said, you will come back and join me for another video, because you know I'll be back soon with another Terranscapes video. One of the things I wanted to mention, though, is nice color soil. I'm going to edit that part out. All right. I'm just going to stay optimistic. I have reason to.